what's a more pressing need? The right side of the offensive line, because who the hell is your right guard? Just playing musical chairs there. Tom Compton, just a bunch of Tom Comptons at right guard. And then right tackle is Mike McGlinchey. Do you not pick up his 5th-year option? Essentially, he's on a 1-year deal to where if he plays like crap again and you're not going to want to – these offensive tackles, they get overpaid. I would not be shocked to see some team that overreacts in free agency and hands Mike McGlinchey $11 million per season. It happens all the time. Happened with Taylor, the guy that was on the Tennessee Titans last year. He was like abysmal the previous 2 seasons and then had a decent year last year.
Conklin.
Now he's making like $12 million a year. Conklin. If they don't pick up McGlinchey's 5th-year option, which I would expect them not to, like there's no reason you should at this point because that 5th-year option is going to be really expensive. Mm-hmm. So you don't pick that up. He has a decent year in his 4th year. Someone's going to give him $12 million a year. And then center. I'm going to include center on that as well because that's another musical chairs position. Richburg looks like a cap casualty, as well as Ben Garland's an unrestricted free agent. Or the cornerback position where 4 of your top 5 corners are unrestricted free agents, which is Sherman, Barrett, K1, and the best corner in the slot corner in the NFL, Jamar Taylor. So you have those 4 guys unrestricted free agent, as well as Manuel Mosley, easy to retain, obviously tender rights. So Grant, I'll start with you. What's the most pressing need to fill?
It's a tough question. I guess the more pressing need is O-line because it's killing the season right now. Yep. It's just killing the season. But I think it's harder to find the cornerback that they're going to need. They need a corner who's big and fast and good. That's not easy to find. A corner who matches up with DK Metcalf and DeAndre Hopkins. That's not easy to find. Like to get a good right guard, you can find that. To get a good center, you can find that. Is it possible to revive Mike McGlinchey's career? Possibly. I think what the more pressing need is offensive line, but the more difficult need to address is the big corner that they need.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's got to be O-line because, like you said, it doesn't matter the quarterback, right? We all clamor for somebody who can move out of the pocket and everything, and yes, that's needed. But you also just saw what happened to Joe Burrow. He can move. What happened? Yeah. Unfortunately,
pocket. Yep.
Right, exactly. So it all starts with the offensive line. Yes, the 49ers have a pressing need at cornerback for sure. But if we're talking about what's more pressing, I don't think it's even close, this offensive line, especially considering how much money ball this team has played with this position, right? With this team, right? Tom Compton, you said it, and I didn't flip this table. Someone just said that's growth. It is growth. I'm getting more mature as the day goes by because whenever I hear his name or see him on the field, I do see red, almost like Kill Bill. But the 49ers really need to figure out pillars, right? Like cornerstones, and that they thought that's what they had in McGlinchey, and at this point, I don't want them to bring back this 5th option, but they're probably going to have to. You not picking up that option says that you're just openly admitting your mistake. Whether it is not or not is one thing, but you openly admitting it, I don't really see this front office doing that.
It's got to be O-line, and I would point right at center. Richburg center. From what it sounds like, last time I heard Tim Ryan talk, he probably won't ever wear a jersey ever again in the NFL because his patellar tendon is pretty. The last guy I saw who tore a patellar tendon was Victor Cruz. He came back for 2 games, and that was it.
True.
So you may, and you're a center. You're always essentially bent over. You're using your knees. So I think it's over for him. If you can get a guy like Josh Myers out of Ohio State, center, that'd be a guy you can get probably in the 3rd or 4th round. Now they don't have a 3rd round pick. You got to figure out what to do there to get into the 3rd round. Maybe you trade Jimmy Garoppolo for a late 3rd.
Maybe you get a comp pick with Tart.
That's a potential. Well, that won't happen until 2022.
Right. You think I know that? My bad.
Yeah, come on, Grant.
You think I would know that?
But Josh Myers is the guy that I've been looking at as far as centers go. Last offseason, I had mentioned on our podcast, we need to get a center. We need to get a center. We need to get a center. Yeah. Twitter will yell at you and tell you that you're wrong, and then you're right.
The team is perfect.
Right.
But I would focus primarily on center first and then work my way out because you got to figure out a way to keep Trent Williams. Lakin is solid. He's not terrible. He's solid. He's good enough. And then you got to figure out your other guard position. Maybe Brunskill. Maybe. or maybe you find someone in free agency. But the cap's going down, so this is where it goes back. It goes right back to the quarterback. All these conversations lead right back to the quarterback because of the money there. But on the cornerback side, I think you can figure out a way to keep Sherm on the cheap, and I think you might be able to keep Jason Verrett on this team. I don't think he's going to price himself out.
What about McGlinchey, Javi? What is going on there in your opinion, and is he salvageable?
Yeah, I think he's salvageable. I think a lot of it has to do. He's in his head a little bit. You know, we talked to Joe. We talked to Joe on our show, and he had mentioned Mike gets a little bit into his head a little bit too much, and that might be why. They have like a little ritual before games that they would do, where he'd come up to. It was the way Joe framed it. It sounded really awkward because it was funny, but after their meetings, they'd go up to Joe's room and they'd sit down, review tape, go over the game plan. It was like a scheduled thing, and it's something that kind of happens every week. So maybe Mike has to get into a different routine and figure some other things out. But
so I think Joe really held his hand, in a sense. Joe is
potentially, possibly, yeah. Possibly.
I see. So he missed Joe this year.
Yeah, I think this whole team misses Joe.
It clearly,
yeah.
Fascinating.
You were right. You were saying that. You've been saying that. You've been saying that. Since the beginning of the season, pretty much. And plenty of people have been saying that. And it's good to hear him vocalize that. But yeah, it's and it all goes back to the lack of accountability. It's still like to this point, guys have horrible games, and they go to the podium and say that they did things right, and it's like, what did you do right? I don't understand. So
yeah. So, and Joe Staley would never talk like that, because he would always have a good game, and if they lost, he wouldn't be like, hey, I just want you guys to know I played well, just for the record. He'd be pissed, and he'd be like, it wasn't good enough. It just wasn't
correct. Yeah,
that's Joe. Yeah,
very accountable.
How many times has Joe brought up Twitter in his career?
Is he on Twitter? He is on Twitter. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, but how many times has he brought up armchair quarterbacks choosing one play or two?
He's above it.
Never.
He's above
never.
Joe's the coolest. Joe should have like a daytime talk show in the Bay Area. He should be the guy on the post-game show. Like, he should be running Bay Area sports football media right now. It just seems like he doesn't really feel like it. He's like, I'll just be in San Diego.
Cup of Joe.
Yeah,
call it Cup of Joe.
I'm gonna write that down. Let me call Joe real quick.
Now get out of here. You're welcome. I said it first.
Tell him he needs to do this for a living.
I know. We told him. I was like, yeah, you should just do it with your boy Adam Snyder, and let's do it. Like, do it.
Yeah.
They were great.
Yeah.
So
what'd he say?
He did think about it. I was like, all right.
You know what, too, though? Linemen are so interesting, like the way that they talk, man, like in the way that they think. So that's why they'd be perfect for podcasts.
They process
and the way they
so
go
much shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So much stuff.
Staley's so smart. He's a legendary 49er, and he's funny. He would be so good. So good.
Oh, yeah.
So
absolutely.
Good. Yeah.
I was just listening to your podcast, Hobby, with the one with Joe Staley, obviously. Yeah. And I could watch movies, like hilarious movies, and I'll never laugh. Right. I'm listening to that podcast, and I catch myself giggling like a little girl. I'm like, who the hell's that? Who's laughing? I'm like, oh, that's new. But
I like Joe's sense of humor. He's got that dry sense of humor. He keeps a straight face the whole time. He's hilarious.
Good people.
I have a center for you, though. Alex Mack. He's a free agent, and Shanahan loves his guys. So that I believe that's someone that 49ers could bring in to fill that center role. What I would be interested in, it's not going to happen, but I think Alex Mack, quick replacement, have McKivitz at right guard, maybe practice him there, and then to me, last year, Brunskill was not too bad at right tackle. I'm to the point where I'm done with McGlinchey. He plays too much on his back heels, and is that going to get fixed anytime soon? You're going to extend Trent Williams. It's obvious at this point. And Trent Williams is not babysitting McGlinchey like Joe was willing to do, because Joe cared so much about the team, cared so much about winning, cared so much about the culture.
Yeah,
I'm not knocking Trent Williams in any way, but Trent Williams is not going to do what Joe did, because this franchise was Joe's, and he was the center of it. And so that being said, is he going to get any better without Joe being in that locker room?
I mean, with McGlinchey, what I want to see, I mean, it's fair what Joe said. It's in his head. It's mental. I mean, he's giving McGlinchey the benefit of the doubt. I think we all see a guy who looks underweight. Is that fair to say? He looks light.
Yeah, he looks very light, yes.
He looks light. So what I think, the reason I think he's salvageable is I think he's a case of a bad quarantine workout regimen. Whatever he was doing didn't work. I don't know what it was. Didn't work. Worked for Fred Warner, but like all these players were on their own. There was no strength and conditioning program. Bring him back next year, assuming that there will be minicamp and OTAs. He won't have Joe Staley looking out for him, but he should have the rest of the team not babysitting him, but at least overseeing him. And he should be hitting his weights. So I think he should be better next year.
I mean, because during on the run to the Super Bowl, he looked good. Like he was solid. And after he came back from his knee, what did they do? They drained his knee out or whatever at one point in the season. He was getting, the first game back was a struggle against Seattle, but after that, he cleaned it up. He was doing fairly well. He wasn't allowing any QB hits. And I think Grant's right. The workout regimen, he looks very thin for a right tackle. I'm watching the right tackles last night for the Raiders and Chiefs. I'm like, these guys are like 320 and McGlinchey looks like a tight end. I'm like, what's going on? So maybe put some weight back on, and that's going to help him out. That's probably will help him out.
Is he vegan? He's not vegan, is he?
I mean, Tom Brady's a vegan, so.
What?
Tom Brady's a vegan.
But I think he cut that out, right? That's what it is, right? He cut that out.
What it is, he needs to gain 10 pounds or 20.
But wait, was that Grant like being fair on his take right there about McGlinchey? Like, I'm just like, I just wanted to see if I could hear that.
You can't get rid of Mike McGlinchey. The first round,
you can't.
You're stuck with him. So I mean, there's no, you can't get rid of him. I'm just thinking it's possible you could get him back to what he was last year. Which was
but that was fair. That's a fair point about the workout, right? Like not everybody, people work out to stay in shape, but the levels of what you're doing is different, and people are by themselves. So I thought it was well thought out. I was just trying to see if I heard it right.
I always am looking for Mike McGlinchey's perspective. I'm trying to see it from his, because people give him too much crap. Really, it's not fair.
Yeah,
he means well.
Who gives him too much crap?
You do, Leo.
That's why I was like,
he's a person too, and he's still here. So let's just.
People.
He's about to have a
call him. Oh my god.